City, the place to be. Life's a madness, wild and free. Tune in now, let the good vibes flow. Bark City, your favorite show.
Welcome back to Barb City, episode 84. I'm Eric.
Kevin.
So, we decided to be even more nerds today than normal.
No, this isn't a nerdy thing.
I
This is
mean,
a
it's,
badass thing.
okay. So we were apparently deciding to do our top 10 Dragon Ball of the whole series, Dragon Ball Z, GT, Super fights.
Yep.
Yeah. So, do we want to go back and forth?
Yeah, we always seem to, every time we do a ranking, we always kind of change how we do it. Sometimes we bounce back and forth. Sometimes one of us will do a full list and then the other, or however you want to do it. So,
Mhm.
did you want to bounce back and forth?
Yeah, we can do bounce back and forth.
All right. Kind of keep the other person from talking for half the podcast. Uh,
Yeah,
who wants to go first?
I'll let you go first.
Okay. Make sure I got this pulled up right. Okay. I just something looked off for a second, so I wanted to make sure. Mm. Okay, number 10. Uh I got Gotenks versus Super Boo.
Mm,
Yep. This one, as I was going through my rankings, I honestly, after the top five, I really didn't know which ones were gonna kind of land at the bottom five because I was sitting there thinking about it. I was like, I think I just have to sit there and like scan my brain through all the fights throughout the series and
mhm.
just figure it out. But I honestly didn't know which ones would be lower down. But as I was thinking about all the fights, I forgot how much I really loved this one. So I was just like, yeah, I think I could easily see this one at least just barely making it in the top 10. I mean, there's a lot of really great fights in the series.
There
Um,
are.
Like I can only, in all honesty, I can only really name like a couple of them. Like maybe I don't know exactly how many it would be, but it wouldn't be very many that I honestly am not really a big fan of. The rest of them I
Hmm.
at least like, even if I wouldn't rank them very high. So like, but this one is definitely pretty high up there. Out of all the versions of Majin Buu, Super Buu is my favorite in terms of villain wise. Now I anyway, I won't get into all that, but villain wise, Super Boo is my favorite because we'll be here all night if I get into all that. But and Gotenks is he's probably one of my favorite characters in the
Hmm.
Boo saga. So
Well, he's actually,
even if he is just a fusion of Trunks and Goten,
well, to
uh,
actually give you a little bit of insight, though, he's actually, besides, of course, Goku, he is one of Toriyama's favorites. Toriyama has ranked his top three moves, and Kamehameha being, of course, number one, but the second and third slot are all moves he created for Gotenks
oh really?
because it was kind of his able to be more goofy again because they were kids,
Yeah, I could
which
see that.
is his wheelhouse.
Yeah, kind of go back to that Dragon Ball Day sort of thing. Yeah.
Yeah.
I could see that, and maybe that's why I like this fight so much because it still feels like Dragon Ball Z, but then it has a lot of elements from like the old school days kind of thrown in there. I love like almost all the moves that
Hmm.
Gotenks does, and the moment he turns Super Saiyan 3 is really epic, and then but yeah, the fight. Unfortunately, the only the I this is probably the reason why it goes down a little bit lower. Once they actually start fighting, particularly like in Super Saiyan 3 versus uh Super Boo, like the fight doesn't last very long.
Mm-mm.
Because that kind of happens with a lot of Majin Buu fights, other than Goku versus Kid Buu, because every time Majin Buu kind of gets in a bind, he always does some kind of thing to just kind of end the fight. Like he basically either absorbs them or just does some kind of whatever to abort the fight. So the fight never
Mm-hmm.
seems to last very long, and this is one of them. So that's probably the only reason. Otherwise, I'd probably put this fight much higher if it lasted much, at least a several. I can't remember how many episodes it goes on for, like two or whatever. But if it lasts a little bit longer, I'd probably put it higher. So, but yeah, Go
Yeah.
Tanks versus Super Boo. So,
My number 10 would have to be Goku and Vegeta versus Omega Shenron. The entire situation with facing
oh yeah,
Shenron. From, Vegeta going Super Saiyan 4 to them fusing into Gogeta, every
yeah,
aspect. It was a phenomenal fight. This GT did phenomenal at the end of their series, in my opinion. Like, the only other fights to me that are really memorable, besides, of course, the moment with Baby and Super 17, is the Omega Shenron stuff. And to me, that felt more Dragon Ball.
yeah,
Uh, because like 17 was arcing on, of course, the Android arc, so it was a cool fight. It was just a little to me about the whole, you know, her tricking 17 about the bomb thing, 18 tricking
yeah,
17, and uh with Baby, it's kind of a cliche thing. And honestly, I felt like it should have been Vegeta in that moment instead of Vegeta being taken over, since there was about the situation between Tuffles and. But I won't get into that top. But seeing Vegeta finally get up there again with Goku, it made it a lot better for me. Plus, I don't like Kid Goku in GT. I would have to have a whole different episode on that. Why I don't like GT as a whole for the most part.
yeah.
Even as a fan of it, I don't like it. It's kind of a weird.
Yeah, I always had kind of a love-hate relationship with GT. There's things I really like about it, and there's things I just don't. So,
Yeah,
mm,
but
but yeah.
I don't think I have to really talk too much on why that's a phenomenal fight.
No, I agree. Yeah, I never really thought about attacking all that into one fight, but yeah, it kind of is. So it's just one really long situation that, they got to do.
Yeah.
Mhm. All right. Um, my number nine is in Dragon Ball Goku versus Ninja Murasaki.
Okay. Yeah.
I, yeah. This one is also some of the same reasons why I like this fight so much. It's kind of like it's just really fun to watch. The difference with this one is it actually goes on for several episodes actually. And because they kind of do a lot of messing around, back
Hmm.
and forth. And before it even really gets into the meat of the fight. And but all that stuff, it doesn't feel like filler to me though. It still feels very entertaining to watch. And I will part of another reason why I like this fight so much is I don't know what it was, especially when I was younger, but I always really had I just love that whole era where Goku goes to Muscle Tower and works his way up the floors. It's kind of like a classic kung fu movie where you go up
Yeah.
the four, that cliche,
Yeah,
go up
because
the four floors.
you can really see the inspiration for Toriyama in that with the
Yeah,
journey to the West and your typical martial arts stuff and
yeah, I always really love that part, and definitely the peak of the whole situation is when he fights Ninja Murasaki. But I also love the Major Metallotron fight too. That one's also really fun. But
yeah.
so I'll throw that in as an honorable mention. But this one, yeah, a lot of fun to watch. It goes through multiple like stages of the fight, and then
Yeah.
but yeah, it's just yeah. Anyway, that's really all I can say. But it's just a lot of fun to watch. So,
Now, I will probably get a lot of flack for this one being at number 9.
Oh, okay.
Um, Sorry, my wife keeps messaging me. But there's reasons behind it. I'll have to explain it why it's in my top 10, but not higher up. And that's Gohan versus Cell.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
And a lot of that has to do with, yeah, the fight was kind of cool, getting to see Super Saiyan 2 for the first time. I loved it. But the problem I have with it is, and it comes down to not the fight itself. The fight itself was beautiful. Honestly, it should have been the end of Z. As much as I did somewhat like the Buu arc, and I do like Majin Buu, it realistically
Yeah.
should have been the end of that kind of combat for Z, which is what Toriyama ended up wanting to do, which is why he made the Great Saiyaman saga, because he wanted to go back to his roots, which fans hated, which altered it, blah, 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 which is why this fight is the lower on the list because it should have been the end of the top tier Dragon Ball Z fights. And
Yeah.
another reason that put it so low on my list is he turned Gohan even more pacifist than ever before because previously, even in the Namek and Frieza arc, you see Gohan has no problem when somebody's in danger murking a motherfucker.
Yeah.
So, like, Goku was never meant to be the hero type, but Gohan was, should have been. But taking him from that hero type to a pacifist, as hard as he did, ruined the fight for me because it was mostly Gohan, you know, at war with his own anger and Super Saiyan 2.
Yeah.
Because it should have been, uh, to me, it should have been the arcing of like another Goku versus Frieza moment. But it was less like that to me. You know what I mean?
Yeah. I see what you're saying. Yeah.
I'm the best at articulating my words.
No, I yeah, I get I think everybody kind of gets what you're saying. Yeah.
So, anyways, I'll leave that there.
Yeah. Yeah, I like that fight too. So it's definitely an epic moment in the series. So um let's see, which one am I on? Number 8? Yeah.
Yep.
It's this officially part of the ranking where I'm going to start forgetting which number I'm on the list. Like I always do. Number 8, I got Piccolo versus Cell. Uh I loved this fight always,
Hmm.
and really this whole. I'm also like sport, just to let people know, like a lot of the fights from the Android/Cell sagas are like on this list because that's my favorite era of Dragon
Yeah.
Ball Z, and but this is definitely one of my favorite moments. Like Piccolo just got done fusing with Kami, and he is head back down and uh down to the surface of the earth, and he's immediately trying to go figure out who, like, this whole like little part of the show is really good too because it almost unfolds like a mystery story where
Hmm.
they're slowly figuring out who Cell is and like what's going on here, and then Piccolo suddenly shows up on the scene, and like there they are, and then this, like, the fight itself is like so much fun to watch. And what makes it even better, even though the fight like is really epic and you got like these two people that seem to be evenly matched, but then they both kind of revealed to each other that they weren't even really like being serious with their fighting. So which makes it, to me, makes it even more epic. I guess that was, that's the Dragon Ball Z nerd in me coming out when that's revealed. And I'm like, oh, epic. So it kind of lets you know that maybe there's still more to come, later on and stuff like that. But yeah, definitely a fun fight, and all the talking scenes and everything. Sometimes in Dragon Ball Z, the again, kind of like what I mentioned with the Goku versus Ninja Murasaki fight. Sometimes if they add too much fluff in the fight, it can make it feel a bit draggy, or some of those moments not as fun to watch. It feels a bit too boring. Sometimes it's, it's better when they try to hit that sweet spot with how long the
Hmm.
fight lasts. But this is another one of those where even though there's quite a bit of talking in it, it's all really interesting to hear and like it's not boring to me at all.
Yeah.
So it's like if anything, it just amplifies the fight for me. Like makes it even more fun to watch. So yeah, that was my number 8. Yeah.
Okay. My number eight, and this one is also the reason that the baby arc falls short for me,
Hmm.
which is funny about this, is my number eight is Goku versus Vegeta in the Buu arc, Majin Vegeta. And it's such a good fight between them two again. Now I hate that Goku was holding back, whatever, but I mean I guess it worked story wise.
Yeah.
But and the lines, I mean, of course, Vegeta has to do his ego stuff, and it's very much Vegeta. And because like with you guys see Vegeta now, he's way too tamed in my opinion for who he should be. He should, be friendlier, yeah, but he still should need to be that some semi-aggressive guy because I mean that's his personality in a nutshell. That's who he is.
Yeah.
And the fact that he was able to let Bobbity turn him into a Majin and still just like not care about his rules because he doesn't have to, unlike the other Majin versions of people, he fully controlled their minds. He couldn't
Yeah.
control Vegeta's mind. All Vegeta did was utilize his magic to increase his power.
Yeah.
And which is also why the baby fight annoys me because, he can resist someone as powerful as Bobbity's magic. But yet a little liquid android can take over his entire body. I digress. It's whatever. Um, but yeah, I love how it literally brought up a lot of character development for Vegeta in that fight. Because it was the essential turn. I mean, him going eventually facing, Majin Buu and the sacrifice, and him actually accepting that, you know what? All his hatred is kind of, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Because he can still be the egotistical, cranky guy, but this is the moment where his hatred, he's realized it. It's just a good character development for him, not the character assassination that he is now. But I digress.
Excuse me.
That's longer talks I can get onto about them. All
Oh,
right.
okay.
Your number seven.
Yeah. Number 7. Jeez. I got people don't get mad at me for putting this too far down, but I kind of have my reasons. Uh, I got Goku versus Frieza.
Okay.
First of all, I want to say that I do really love this fight. I mean, it obviously is in my top 10 after all. The only reason why it's not really higher is because kind of like what I was saying before, this is an example of a fight that I do really love, but it does go on and maybe a smidge too long for me. I think this is actually one of those fights that I think would benefit from being maybe a couple of episodes shorter. It's just, especially every time you rewatch it. I mean, the first couple of times, like when I was a kid, like watching on TV, the first few times, like the length of it didn't bother me. But like rewatching it, especially if you ever binge watch those episodes,
Mm-hmm.
it's a little draggy, especially when you just got done like rotating through all the different people that fight against Frieza all the way up to Goku. And then the fight of Goku, like it's like, and then he goes Super Saiyan, and it's like in it, you think that like the fight's gonna wrap up fairly shortly after he turns Super Saiyan, but no, it goes on for several more episodes. So, but anyway,
Yeah,
but it's still a lot of fun to watch though.
it
Of
really is.
course, yeah. Goku, like everything leading up to like you could easily find like the before he becomes Super Saiyan, that part of the fight to maybe be a little boring because you're like, especially once you know what's going to happen, you might be like, oh God, it's taking so long. But like, no, even that part is still really fun to watch. If anything, it's like almost just as entertaining.
It's a
And
good build up to for the introduction to Super Saiyan.
yeah, it really is. And definitely like I think what makes the fight feel even more epic, sort of like Goku versus Kid Buu as well, you could throw that fight in there with the same sort of feel to it, where they're fighting on a planet that feels much more disposable. I mean, you feel bad that Planet Namek is kind of like dying essentially, but it's not like it's the end of, everything. It's not quite the stakes of like if they're on Earth kind of thing. And so it's they can fight a little bit more like chaotically, I guess you could say. So it
Go more
feels
all
this,
out.
yeah, it has this very apocalyptic kind of feel to it, which also makes it feel very epic. And but yeah, Frieza is a definitely a fun villain to for sure. To Pretty much anybody fighting against him is always fun to watch. But yeah, uh, uh, but yeah, Goku versus Frieza. Just not really too much else to say.
No,
It's
everyone
just a
knows
really
about it.
epic fight. So
My number
that was number
seven, and
seven.
my number seven, that it's from a filler arc, and it's from the Outworld tournament, and it's Goku versus Python.
Oh, okay, yeah,
I loved the whole arc out, the Outworld arc, and I hate that it's filler, non-canon or whatever, because
yeah.
I fucking love it. I love the introduction of the gra- uh, Great Grand Kai or whatever he is called. I can't remember off the top of my head immediately. But that fight with
Yeah,
him and
think it's great,
PyCon,
Granka.
yeah, like the fight with him and PyCon is only lower than the next one because it feels like a rehash in a sense, but more like epic because of course, he's Goku's stronger now and this and that. But it's just a great martial arts tournament fight
Yeah,
with, people with superpowers, basically, and to show off that, these other races are actually that powerful was beautiful to have because, I mean, before you had, certain alien races you've seen that were more powerful or could go toe to toe with Goku for the most part. But this tournament showed a lot more powerful species. And it was nice to see. It was kind of felt like more of a world building. And then again, the fight was just, there's not much to say, but it's phenomenal. It's a great animated fight. And it's one of those Goku fights a guy who's not evil and loves the fight. So
yeah.
it really checks the list for me with Dragon Ball into Dragon Ball Z.
Yeah, the Goku fights where he's fighting like in a much more friendly manner, like sportsmanship kind of fight. Those are always really fun to watch. So, where he's not fighting to protect anybody or anything like that. It's just pure for fun. So,
Hmm.
or
Those are
just for
typically higher.
a challenge essentially. Yeah.
Yeah.
Mhm.
And also, I really wish PyCon was canon and used more because, God, he's such a great character. His fucking moves
Yeah,
are great. I like in the Tenkaichi stuff, I love using PyCon.
yeah, I always really liked PyCon's character, and I agree. He would have been a really fun one for them to utilize more, and like, yeah, make him a bit more, like make him canonized and flesh him out a little bit more. That would have been
Yeah.
really fun to see, but uh, yeah, unfortunately they don't. It is what it is. So, uh,
Alrighty, you're number six.
all right, my number six. Now, this one might be kind of surprising and maybe a little funny to some people, especially being so much higher up on the list, but.
Hmm.
This isn't just a random pick for me. Like this is something I've always thought, like even from my younger days, even like this is a fight that always sticks out in my head. But and that is It's Vegeta versus Pui Pui.
Yeah. Love it.
So let me explain.
Oh,
I'm a sucker for those fights where Vegeta is like essentially it's Vegeta. It almost feels
being
like
Vegeta.
double. Yeah, it almost feels like a double villain fight. You know, when Vegeta fights certain people, even though at this point Vegeta, he had pretty much become a Z warrior at this point, but
Well, he's not fully. He's
well,
still an
kind of
ass.
because
He's still an
yeah,
asshole. Who wants to kill them, but he has.
yeah, he's not quite the villain that he used to be before this point. And but it's still this fight still gives off that strong vibe though, where it almost feels like you're watching two bad guys like compete against each other,
Hmm.
two villains. And out of all the ones he did, like his fight with Dodoria is like really fun to watch on Namek. His fight with Zarbon and stuff like that. Those are it just and the absolute brutality of Vegeta when he in those fights are those are my favorite like brutal moments with Vegeta when he's fighting another like villain essentially.
Yeah,
And
but the
and
thing
who
with
is
him,
that Kui, I think is that his name? The one he fights he like literally well, if you want to call it a fight, it's more and same thing with this one. It's more of an obliterate, yeah, like more of a beatdown.
it's really a combat of egos. Realistically, in that fight, it's more egos because they
Yeah.
still think Vegeta's beneath them, but Vegeta had such a fucking Zenkai boost from the fight with Goku.
Yeah. Plus, yeah. But yeah, the with Vegeta versus Pui Pui, I don't know, but this one out of all of them, yeah, it sticks out of my head the most. I'm not sure what it is. I don't know if it's Vegeta's trash talking with Pui Pui, or if it's the fact that you even as a kid you knew from that like before the fight even began that like oh yeah like like Pui Pui's gonna literally get obliterated.
Yeah,
It's one of those fights you know how this is going to end, but you want to see how it happens. And
yeah, because
The fact that Vegeta drug the fight out too a little bit makes it even more epic because he's literally just like swinging all these punches at him, and it's like he could end at any moment if they wanted to, but he decides to drag it out on purpose.
because it's essential Vegeta. Like even if
Yeah,
you take villain out of Vegeta, he still should be that guy,
yeah.
in my opinion.
I love the fact that in this fight too, that makes it even funnier to me that Goku was actually jealous that Vegeta got to fight Pui Pui because he wanted to be the one to have fun with him, and which would have always been interesting to see how Goku versus Pui Pui would have turned out. But I'm glad it was actually Vegeta that did it because I think it made the
Hmm.
fight way more entertaining than it would have been with Goku. So I like the fact that Goku fight Yaikon instead. I thought that was a much better fight for Goku. So,
Yeah.
um, but yeah, Vegeta versus and the I don't know, like the moment he when they transport him like to Pui Pui's home planet, I believe. And like they start bragging about the fact that the gravity's like 10 times stronger in Vegeta, and you just start laughing because you're like, yeah, literally like 7 years ago, Vegeta was already training and way more intense than this. So, like this is like nothing.
Yeah.
Yeah. But yeah.
All right. So my number six, and it's also the reason why I say why Pycon and Goku were number seven, is the end of Dragon Ball, Goku versus Piccolo Jr., I should say, specifically.
Oh yeah, yeah.
In
I was
in the
confused for a
tournament.
second. I was like, "What?" And I'm like, "Oh yeah, yeah. The tournament, yeah, fight."
Because that kind of blended the perfect orchestrate of Dragon Ball to me with
Mhm.
it. Yes, it was a tournament fight, but it was about revenge, and it was literally Piccolo Jr. wanting to kill Goku and take over the world like his father.
Yeah,
So it had the multi elements of tournament fighting and risking, lives kind of thing. You know what I mean?
yeah,
Besides that, I mean, the fight itself just so intense. It's a very intense fight. And it's one that they seemed so equal that it was kind of like because of how anime is, especially when you know it's the ending of an anime. If you didn't already know Dragon Ball Z was a thing, like he made you wonder if Goku was gonna fail there. Like Goku had to struggle.
Yeah.
And like also, can we give it up to like the fucking gut upper punch Goku hit him with? His whole fucking fist in his stomach. Like, damn.
Honestly, some of Goku's hits in Dragon Ball are like pretty crazy sometimes, like where he'll just straight up start using his head and crap. So
Hmm. It was just also, it's pre Super Saiyan Goku, the pre Saiyan Goku technically, because he wasn't known as a Saiyan yet.
yeah.
And it was just also it's the first fight we've ever seen Goku in without his tail too.
Oh yeah. Yeah.
If I remember correctly, because he left with I think at the when he left before he came back as a like 18 years old. I think he was 18. I think he had just lost his tail for the final time before he left off. And then he comes back at
Yeah.
that
Yeah, because
tournament.
they had taken it off a couple times, but he always grew it right back. But yeah, that was
Mhm.
the last time, I believe. Yeah.
Yeah, that was his first fight without his tail on his return. And like it was just, I mean, it was a phenomenal fight. I mean, the arena got figgity fucked, and of course, Goku's jumping through the air celebration at the end. And it's the start of the classic, Goku with no shoes on fighting kind of thing,
Yeah.
which we only see one other time after that, and that's against Raditz.
Yeah, I always kind of forget that he used to do that, that he would
Because they
take
were
off his
weighted
shoes too
clothes.
because of the
Yeah.
weight. And then later on he stops doing that. He just keeps them on. So
Yeah. And then it went from his shirt, his top of his gi being blasted off to only having just the blue on
yeah.
damaged. Yeah. I mean, it's just a phenomenal end to a series. Anyways, you're number
Yeah,
five.
that's a good one. And it also leads perfectly into my number five. I got Goku and Piccolo versus Raditz. I swear we didn't
Yeah,
plan that, but
yeah, because we never told each other our list beforehand.
yeah, I had no idea what Eric's number six was. So yeah, I didn't know what any of his were, but definitely didn't know his number six. But yeah, Goku. This fight is always like the the Saiyan saga is my second favorite saga anyway. I'll never forget the first time I actually ever watched this because like when I first watched real quickly when I first started watching Dragon Ball Z, I started with the so it was actually in the middle of the Cell saga when I first started
Hmm.
watching, and so the Android slash Cell saga was kind of where I started, and then later on they went back and started airing some of these episodes, and I immediately like fell in love with this little era, like it's because I didn't even know Goku had a brother, at this point, and
Hmm.
because I didn't know all these details, and so learning that Goku had a brother and like that Piccolo used to be like like an enemy to Goku and all like learning all this new information was just like brand new to me, and it was really fun to watch. But honestly, even going back and rewatching these episodes again and again are still fun. And Goku definitely peaks when Goku and Piccolo are, and seeing Goku or Piccolo's new special beam cannon technique was
Hmm.
is always fun to watch, and the fact that he takes delight in actually knowing that he's gonna kill Goku too. He's just like, oh, how perfect! I kill both of them. Because normally they would be like the cliche thing if it was anybody else but Piccolo, like an actual friend to Goku. Like they would have to do like the whole melodramatic, like, oh, I can't bring myself to do it. But Piccolo's just like, all right, how convenient for me.
Yeah. And then
Yeah.
immediately kidnaps his son. Like, yeet.
Yep. It's like, all right, you're coming with me, kid. Yep. But yeah, I love always really and this. But yeah, out of all those Saiyan fights, I mean, it's hard for me to like rank them like exactly which order. I mean, I guess yeah. Anyway, we'll get to those. But
Hmm.
this one is I just always loved this fight. I remember when I was a kid, anytime I would play with my DBZ toys, this was like my favorite part to like start the my little story was always to do like this whole rivalry of Raditz versus Goku and all the like and Piccolo kind of thrown in there. And it's one of the fights that really inspired me to like write my own stories and stuff like that. So that's why I like it a lot. Anyway,
Wh-
I'll
which
stop talking about it before I sound too much like a nerd. So.
which this actually leads in perfect to my number five, which is Goku versus Vegeta for the very first time.
Ah, yeah, yeah,
Yes, both Goku and Vegeta fights are on my list because, well, Goku and Vegeta. But the reason this one is at number five for me is because it's the first absolute time the planet was truly in danger. Because realistically, Raditz, he just wanted either Goku to join him or kill Goku and take Gohan. Either way, he was fine. They just needed more Saiyans to help against Frieza.
yeah,
And everyone before him, they wanted to conquer Earth. All his other enemies wanted to control and conquer Earth. Vegeta got to the point where he didn't give a fuck no more. He would have blown the entire planet to smithereens to get rid of Goku.
yeah,
Plus, it took Goku, Krillin, Gohan, and Yajirobe with a quick slice and dash to actually take down Vegeta. It showed him as an actual, compared to Nappa, Piccolo, Raditz, all those before. This is the biggest threat ever they've
yeah,
ever met at this point. Plus, seeing the move of the artificial Bloods wave they can make,
yeah,
and it turned out that's actually Bardock's invention originally. Goku's dad's invention. Uh, it's just a great fight.
hmm,
Vegeta always makes a phenomenal villain. Just the way he was written, the ego, the he very much feels like a prince
yeah.
of a race of warriors. So I could talk nauseating links about some of these fights. I even have to make notes outside some of these fights. Do not talk too much on
Yeah, that's going to be
them.
my problem as we slowly work our way up higher. Is the higher we go, the more I'm going to want to talk about it. But I'm going to have to try to keep it short and sweet. The All
Number
right.
four.
My number four is Nappa versus the Z Warriors. So
Okay, that's a good one.
I just kind of tacked them all into there because they sort of tag team it in this fight where they kind of jump from person to person. One of the main reasons I'll say why I like this fight so much is the fact that they actually tag team it. You don't see that too often actually in the Dragon Ball series. Usually they always kind of do a like have
My
one
turn
really long
first.
yeah, one fight with one of the fighters and then it'll switch over to another, and that happens a little bit in this fight, but there's also a lot of tag teaming back and forth where you think one of them's out of the fight but then they come back later and challenge him again, like with Tien and stuff like that. And it's also one of the last fights you get to see like Tien actually be epic too, which is a lot of fun to watch. So
Yeah.
and because unfortunately he's one of those characters that kind of gets sidelined more because he gets outclassed, power wise. And but yeah, but also seeing Piccolo fight a lot in this fight is really epic to see. So Gohan, yeah, he's still kind of in his can't get over his fear stage yet. So he has some epic moments, but they're very short and sweet and in between. But yeah, and Nappa like being an absolute powerhouse is like really fun to
Hmm.
watch. So plus I also just love hearing Vegeta's remarks, like as he's watching from the sidelines, him
Yeah.
trash talking them is always fun to listen to. Anytime Vegeta
Also,
starts trash talking, it's always a great time. So
can we make the note that if it wasn't for Vegeta being as smart as he is, Nappa was about to get fucking killed by Krillin?
Oh yeah, I always think that every time. I'm like, man, if Vegeta wouldn't have said anything, like that would have
That
ended it right
that
there.
Destructo Disc would have fucking
Because yeah,
through.
Nappa's really strong, but he's not the brightest fighter. Yeah.
Yeah,
That's
so
definitely one
like,
of his weaknesses. So
yeah, Vegeta was just busy looking somewhere else, or somebody was distracting Vegeta.
yeah.
Nappa would have been cut in half, like he'd been
Yep.
done. And then you'd had so many Z fighters still left alive to fight Vegeta. Of
Yep.
course, the Piccolo sacrifice, epic moment.
Yep.
It's
I
sure
love
why he's now the true daddy of Gohan.
Yeah, because you see so much gradual change through him as he's training Gohan, but that's the moment where you know, like, oh yeah, he's not the same person he used to be anymore. So,
Yep.
but yeah,
Now,
that's it on that one.
yeah, my number four, and I'm not going to talk on it because you've already talked on it. Goku versus Frieza.
Oh yeah. Mhm.
And it's only mostly because of watching someone like Vegeta break down crying because he
Oh
couldn't
yeah, that's
do
always
what
such
he
a hard
needed to do
moment
to
to
save
watch.
his
Yeah, yeah,
Krillin's death. It was just everything culminating to the moment of Goku becoming Super Saiyan was such an epic moment. The fighting was good. Even Goku in his rage, even admitting that he just wants to slaughter Frieza, but he will give him the chance because of who he is to live. And Frieza, of
yeah,
course, shoving that in his face.
yeah. Because Frieza's
And
Frieza. Yeah.
yeah, because
Mhm.
Frieza's Frieza. Goku,
Mhm.
even though he was just filled with rage, tried to be who he still is.
Yeah.
It was just a beautiful fight. Also, the aftermath of the fight with Goku, watching Goku trying to escape and having to go through multiple different ships just to try to find the one ship to get the fuck off the planet with.
Yeah. Yeah.
Also, of
Very
course,
intense moment to watch for sure. So.
yeah. Also, the first time we actually see a planet blowing up. Like, I
Oh
guess
yeah, I
we've seen
guess
the.
it is first time. Huh?
Well, I guess
Yeah.
we know. I mean, we've seen the flashbacks of Planet Vegeta, but to see it in the midst of destruction
Right, like
was just
actual in that present time. Yeah.
because with the Planet Vegeta flashbacks, he just showed the planet glowing bright cracks and then boom, done.
Mhm. Yeah.
But to see the planet just shifting, lava spewing up. Also, anytime I play any of the Dragon Ball Z games that do that fight, it's just epic map to fight on. But that's all I can add to what you've already said without going way too long.
Yeah. All right, my number three, right? Is this my number three?
Hmm.
Oh
Yeah.
yeah. Uh, Again, I'm doing it again. Uh, all right, I got Goku versus Vegeta the first time they fight. Yeah, uh, yeah, you said pretty much most of what I could say, but there's a couple of things I could add. One thing, the interesting thing about, I mean, this fight is really fun to watch from beginning to end, in all honesty, uh, uh, but probably one of my interesting things about this fight is, and technically, Vegeta kind of actually won this fight, technically.
Yeah.
If it wasn't for the interference, of Gohan, Krillin, of course, Yajirobe jumping in later. Um,
Yeah.
he pretty much had Goku backed, and he wasn't even really all that beat up yet, but Goku was like obliterated practically. And so I always found that kind of interesting. If you ever watch the later episodes first, you might have this weird idea. Of course, it's mostly because of the whole jealousy thing kind of gets started when Goku goes Super Saiyan first, but you might have this idea that like Goku always just upping Vegeta all the time, but really that didn't get started until a little bit later
Hmm.
because at this point Vegeta, like, yeah, he had really had very few problems to handle. Well, shouldn't say very few problems. He did have to use a lot of his power, but still, using his power, he was able to overcome Goku pretty well. So it
Yeah.
was really interesting to watch. When I remember the first time I saw this fight and just seeing how like when Vegeta went full force on Goku, how well he just had
Yeah.
him handled. I was just like kind of surprised by that. I was like, wow. I was like, Goku's like getting his, getting spanked. So
Of course, you gotta admit the him riding the Kamehameha and then flipping off it in the air. That was
yeah,
cool. Like he was so strong the Kamehameha didn't even actually didn't obliterate him. It just launched him.
right. It just kept him out of there. Yeah. I kind of always forget about that part. Yeah, the where he's like flinging out towards space, and then he finally manages to flip off of it. Yeah. Mhm.
And that's when he discovers there's the moon had been destroyed. That's when he it leads to that.
Yeah.
Now, my number three, and it's because people are all Gohan Glazers or Goku Glazers, whatever. Boy, I'm a Trunks Glazer. And the only reason they ain't higher is because it's not really a fight. It's a fucking massacre. And that's when Trunks
Hmm.
goes back to the future for the last time after the Cell Saga. And he just opens up a can of fucking whoop ass justice on his 17 and 18.
Yeah.
Like, I love it because he has went from the kid who was getting fucking manhandled by 18
Yeah.
to just coming back, the long silver hair, just badass, fucking black tank top. I'm a Trunk Glazer, I will admit that. So yes, I am more annoyed with the new Trunks in Super,
Yeah.
but there's not much to talk about it because again, it was literally just justified whoop ass. It wasn't a fight.
Yeah. It's kind of like what I said earlier with some of those Vegeta fights. They almost feel like just like beat downs more than fights. So,
Yeah.
and that
All
definitely
right,
you
you're
could throw that one in there as well. Also, Trunks killing Frieza, that one was kind of more of a beat down.
ah
Yeah.
yeah. That
Yeah,
was though
Trunks
that
actually
one.
used to, fun fact, Trunks actually used to be my favorite character when I first started watching Dragon Ball Z. He was actually one of the reasons why I got into the show, because I loved his character. Goku, he's my favorite character now, but at the time, Goku wasn't really in the show all that much during that little section because there was
Hmm.
always something going on with him. And so I didn't really even know Goku's character all that much. But yeah, Trunks was my favorite at the time. So,
Yeah. Yeah,
my number, oh, sorry.
you're done. Okay, I was just gonna say, like, unlike with like, reason I don't care much about the Trunks and the Frieza, because even though it
Hmm.
was a beatdown too, it was just not personal. The beatdown for 17 and 18 was just so personal. It was just that made it beautiful as a beatdown.
Yeah. Yeah, I could see that making that one feel more satisfying. So
Hmm.
coming, it's almost like going back to avenge like everything that had happened to him and all the people of Earth. So,
Hmm.
my number two. Now this fight, my top two. I'll say this: like all of them, obviously they're up there for a reason, but my top two, absolute freaking. I can't like I'm like I can't even use words to describe how much I love these two fights. But my number two is Piccolo versus Android 17.
Oh
I,
yes, that's my number two.
yeah, a lot of I actually quickly looked up some on Reddit too, like what everyone's roughly what a lot of people's like favorite fights were too. And a lot of people, yeah, definitely had this in their top five. I was like, yeah, I don't blame people because I knew immediately like this one would be high up there. I
Yeah.
almost even want to put this one at number one because of how much I freaking love it, but I can't bring myself to put it over another fight. But yeah, this fight is epic for so many freaking
God.
reasons.
Dude, and the fact that if you read the manga only and you've never watched the anime, it's a disappointing thing because the fight is only a couple panels,
Really?
but the animators took those couple panels and just made cinema with that fight.
Yeah. Well, yeah, I
Oh,
guess since it's both our number two, we can both back and forth on it.
yeah.
So Piccolo, first of all, the fight itself is just epic to watch. Like Piccolo and 17 are absolutely brutal with each other in this one. They do not hold back their punches and their and their blast toward one another. Yeah, it is like epic from beginning to end. But there's also a lot of emotional reasons why this fight is really epic to watch too. And
Yeah.
because you have the whole layer of Cell slowly working his way toward the fight, adding even more tension to the situation.
Hmm.
Because you're like, oh crap, what's he's on his way. Like, are we going to be able to handle this? Like what's going to happen once he gets there, or is he going to be able to kill? So if it's your first time watching, like, is he going to be able to get rid of 17? And the media them immediately like joining teams to try to take down Cell was also really fun to watch. They immediately go from like rivals to like allies, because a bigger threat had shown up. So that was also a really satisfying moment to watch. So oh, and the scatter shot
Oh yeah, I
scene,
mean,
that one's really much like
mm,
how he tricked 17
Hellzone
thinking that he was.
grenade.
Yeah, he
Mm.
he moved that. Yeah, oh, every time I love that. But of course, 17. He that's when he reveals he has that force field thing. So,
Like
and
I'm gonna show my era of who I am and how where I live and stuff in a sense because of a certain word used in WWE. It was just straight up a fucking slobber knocker of a fight. That's
okay,
what it was in a nutshell. If anybody who listens to this ever has watched WWE, they'll know JR, one of the commentators. It's a slobber knocker. It's fucking hilarious. But it is a hidden gem of a fight. And did
yeah,
you know, like, even though a lot of people are now like really loving it, there was for so many years it was overlooked because it was
yeah,
Piccolo, and
yeah,
Piccolo had been knocked down to like number 3 and 4 of people's favorite characters at this point. So it just but again, no one does innovative offense quite like Piccolo. You know, and with 17's, it's actually was 17's one-on-one debut too. This is the first time 17 ever fought one-on-one
yeah.
besides the future of the Trunks little special because he fought Gohan one-on-one and then 18 jumped in. But
Yeah.
full on one-on-one fight. And then to have 18 and 16 just sitting there chill watching it for the longest time. Uh yeah. I just I love the fight. Enough said.
Yeah. I remember back when I was like, I'll quickly say this. I remember back when I was a teenager, and they would sometimes like people would take uh, the Dragon Ball Z fights, and they would
Mhm.
like remove like all the in between episode stuff and basically make it feel like one big movie, like the fight feel like, especially if it was a longer fight. And this was one of them. And I remember rewatching that on YouTube like multiple times, seeing Piccolo
Yeah.
and 17 just like fight each other just like it's one really long movie. So and
There's a really
yeah.
badass AMV of that fight that I've seen years ago, and I fucking loved
I'm
it.
sure I probably watched many of those too. I remember when I used to be addicted to those. Yeah. Um,
Now,
Uh,
I want to do number one first because
oh,
there's
okay.
actually a thing about my number one. It was hard to decide between these two fights,
All right.
and they're both movie fights. And I think I'm gonna go with the one I'm gonna go with. I'll say second, but the one I almost went with because of the fucking soundtrack and the situation. And the only reason I didn't put it at number two, like I could have moved things down, but everything deserves. So I got like two number one slots. They both have to fill it fully, but it's Goku versus Cooler.
Oh God, I love that fight.
That fight is so good. The fucking Disturbed soundtrack in the background, the way it also muffles under the water when they're fighting.
Yeah.
The whole production of that fight with the I guess fifth form Cooler.
Hmm.
It's just oh, because it's got revenge, it's got risk, yeah, of course, like just that moment of Goku bringing the bird back to life. It was just, But the fight I had to go with as the main number one slot is the entire fight between the Z Fighters and Broly in the original Broly
Oh,
movie.
okay. Yeah.
Broly's fucking brutality. Like that had everything. That had the pull-up game, that had jumping, that had brutal beatdowns, sadistic villain. I don't like how it ended, but leading up to that ending, everything just phenomenal. Like, oh, it's I can't I will stay on that fight. These two fights forever if I am let to. So I will let you go to your number one.
All right. My number one is Goku versus Perfect Cell. So this is
Ooh.
oh, okay. I thought my phone was ringing for a second and I was like getting ready to silence it because I was like, I don't know who's about to call me, but I gotta silence this because my ring's kind of loud. But anyway, uh yeah, Goku versus Perfect Cell. This was the I still remember this fight like as a kid. Well, obviously I remember as a kid. I've seen these episodes many times. I don't know where I was going with that. I was about to have something to say, and then my brain just went to mush right in the middle of. I got distracted by my phone, and but yeah, definitely an epic fight. It's probably my favorite moment in this fight. I'll try to be brief, but yeah, probably my favorite moment with this fight is when Goku does the Kamehameha wave thing where he's charging it up like super friggin' powerful, and everyone's like so concerned about what he's doing,
Hmm.
and it's like geez, like Goku, you're gonna like blow up the friggin' planet, you know. Even Cell becomes concerned. He's like, dude, what the heck are you doing, you know? And then he does the instant transmission and appears like right below him, and then just like blows the whole top half of his body off. Yeah, that was an epic moment.
Yeah,
So.
the first show for instantaneous transmission Kamehameha, like or
Yeah,
instant Kamehameha, some people would say.
yeah. But yeah, that is my number one. So
Yeah, the like it's hard to pick in the list,
it
especially when you add in movies and stuff.
yeah, I really wanted to add in some of the movies, but I felt like I would wind up putting some of them over some fights from the actual show. And so I couldn't bring myself to do it. So because I really actually wanted to include the Goku versus Cooler fight because I absolutely love that fight. So
Yeah, I could not because like we did
but
say that it was all
yeah,
over
I'll throw it
all
in
of
as an
Dragon
honorable
Ball.
mention. Yeah. So yeah, I really did want to put some of those in there, but I was just like, I was like, I really would rather stick to the shows, even though I could,
Hmm.
you know, because of our rules, I could throw some of those in there. But I was because I was afraid it would wind up some of those fights would wind up kicking some of the show fights out, and I didn't want to do that. So
Yeah, like they only move certain ones down, and those were ones I was already okay with moving down. But the only reason I made Cooler and Broly both number one, which technically is cheating, but is because Piccolo and 17 had to stay at number two. There was no ifs and but about it, but I couldn't put Cooler below it really. And so I had to cheat. It
yeah.
is what it is. It's our podcast. Leave us alone.
Yeah. Hey, I
Leave me
won't you get no complaints from me. I don't blame you.
alone.
So it really is hard. There was a few fights I wanted to kind of cheat a little bit with some of the stuff too, because it really was hard for me to pick a top 10 with some of these fights. Because
Yeah.
there was so many other fights from like the other shows I didn't even include that I really, really wanted to, like from GT and Super and stuff like, and I didn't include them because they got kicked out because of all these other fights, you know.
Yeah,
So
like if I was to put any of I was tempted to put some super stuff in there, specifically two moments,
yeah.
but they didn't feel as impactful to me as those others. Some people could say, "Oh, it's because I watched those other ones as a kid, and I watched Super as an adult." But no, but nominally, when I'm doing these lists, I judge on if I was to watch it now, how would it make me feel with no rose-colored goggles, nothing. because
Yeah.
I am a big anime watcher and I love anime fights, and I'm extremely picky on how a fight works. Like in
Yeah.
Super, the fight between Goku and Hit, that could easily make the list. That's like number 11 for me. And number 12 is definitely Goku versus uh Khalifa or whatever. And that's because the Kamehameha slide against her blast. Phenomenally done, phenomenally animated. They're phenomenal fights,
Yeah.
but they just
And
don't
that
have the same impact because both those are that the main good fights in Super are all tournament based.
yeah.
And there's other tournament fights that felt more tournament-y and better character arc in the fight. Because I mean, my two tournament ones, which are Pycon and Piccolo, those are both, you know, story defining moments for Goku
Yeah.
and for the rest of the world. So,
Yeah, that's the interesting thing about me. For people who don't know, you may not think it based on this episode, but I'm actually not a fan of anime, Japanese anime, really. And that's why for years ago, I remember for a long time I hadn't even watched any of the Dragon Ball Z or Dragon Ball shows in general. And and I rewatched them kind of as a curious, question to myself. I was like, I wonder if I would even enjoy, these stories or this show nearly as much, knowing that I'm not a big anime fan. And because I was like, I bet it's probably one of those things. I loved it when I was a kid, but not as much as an adult. But nope, when I rewatched it, I still like found the show, the story, and the fights, everything to still be very enjoyable. So kind of like what you were saying, yeah, it's not just nostalgia. It really is like it's just a straight up like they're just great stories and great fights and a great
yeah.
show. So
And honestly, it makes me to ask though, would you potentially, do you, as a lesser anime fan than I am, because I mean, you don't like as many animes as I do
yeah.
you have enough to make a top 10 anime list?
Oh, I don't know about that. Maybe if I thought about it a while. So.
Uh,
I'd
Comment
have
down
to probably
below.
pull in shows from my childhood. I don't
Yeah.
know.
Comment down below to anyone that's watching if you want to comment. Say yes or no if you wanted to see Kevin try to make a top 10 anime
Yeah.
list.
I might be able to squeeze a top five, maybe. I don't know about a top 10.
If you
So
can't do top 10, we'll do a top five, which I'm fine with doing. But I kind of want to see where your anime like levels and like are.
I feel like people would probably be disappointed. I don't know. But anyway, yeah, I'll think about it. I'll see if I can figure some out.
But with that, we are about out of time for this week's episode. So don't forget to comment, like, subscribe, and all that jazz. Comment down below your top three Dragon Ball Z fights and give a little description of why if you want to. And with that one, we will see you in the next one. Bye.
Welcome to the city where chaos thrives. Kevin and Eric keep people alive. Random talks and stories collide. Park City Anthem, let's take a ride. Park City, the place to be. Laughs and madness, wild and free. Tune in now, let the good vibes flow. Park City, your favorite show. Guitar strumming since ignite. Jokes and banter, morning or night. From the weird to the totally bizarre. Park City legends shining like a star. Park City, the place to be. Laughs and madness, wild and free. Tune in now, let the good vibes flow. Park City, your favorite show. Guitar strumming since ignite. Jokes and banter, morning or night. From the weird to the totally bizarre. Park City, a legend, shining like a star. Park City, the place to be. Laughs and madness, wild and free. Tune in now, let the good vibes flow. Bar City, your favorite show. Eric drops a pun, Kevin rolls his eyes. Stories take off, reaching the skies. They'll talk about things you didn't foresee. In Bar City, it's all comedy. Bar City.